Hello there, Qckslvrslash, and today we have a game in one of the early previews of the Tier 8 French battleship Richelieu. Now, so far I've been lucky, and granted I did spend some money on the premium crates because I wanted some of the flags that came in those crates and extra chances at getting the missions for the ships. I was more than happy with. And from the game I got the Bretagne mission, I then got the Normandy, and the Richelieu. And the Richelieu, I have loved. The Normandy, I really liked. The Bretagne, I don't really enjoy it. I found it a rough ship to play. Like, it feels like it's just the New York Part 2. I don't know, whereas the Normandy really starts to feel like something unique. Now, the Richelieu, it doesn't feel so unique, or at least it won't to those of you who have the Dunkirk, and that's because this is pretty much a Tier 8 Dunkirk. And I'd originally questioned whether or not I would share this game simply because I do some very stereotypical Dunkirk things, which is basically sit bow in and just keep your guns shooting at things and never really move. Unfortunately, on this map, that can happen when you come over to the sea cap, and having all 8 main battery guns facing forward, well, it means at least I'm getting the damage in. Now, yes, I could have kited out to the side, but I've got Goomba going out there. He's in behind me. Savea's up in front. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to post up for now. Turned in to duck those shots, and why not? I've got amazing range, and that is one thing the Richelieu brings. 25.3 kilometer range. There's no spotting plane, but you do not need it. And that range alone means pretty much top of the class. Nothing's going to outrange you at this tier. And that's a good feeling. It also means people are going to be more likely to just sit at range, bow in, and fire these guns. And the dispersion on them isn't great. But what helps the dispersion out is that shell density. 8 shells all coming from a tight place. You can disperse, you're still going to get 1 or 2 per volley, and that's one of the big things about this, and the Dunkirk is similar, is when the dispersion bites you in the butt, it sucks, but you still normally get a shell or 2. Now, if this were only 4 barrels up front, you might not be getting that. So I'm doing some pretty typical French BB play here, you know, using HE and just splitting it up amongst the targets I have. Now, the AP in this is strong, but I find you have to get a little bit closer, and you really do need the broadsides. One of the ships that is most deadly with AP is the Normandy. With 12 barrels, you absolutely eat through cruisers. I see the Lexington. I'm not a big fan of aircraft carriers. They seem to get drops on me all the time, so I definitely take that shot. And you can see how much of the enemy team is pushing in, but you can also see how much of our own team is here. And this can be the problem on this map. A lot of ships now come contest C. There's not a lot that go out to A because you can kind of get stuck out there. C offers some protection from the middle and western edges of the map. You've got sets of islands, and that just means you get to focus kind of down a narrow path, and that's what's happening here. Both teams are doing it. You can see behind me, well, there were ships. They've since sailed off there, Goomba and our Bismarck, who is charging in, and the enemy team's all kind of just looping around. So far, 14,000, not a great amount of damage, but it'll just add up if I keep myself alive, and I'm doing well on hit points. Now, I am going to ask Goomba to push up the side. I had different intentions in mind kind of when I was like, hey, could you do this? Then what happens? And he does die an obligatory death, so it completes the video. But it does achieve a bit of what I'm hoping. And it just comes down to splitting fire, or splitting where somebody can aim their bow to protect themselves. You know, if Goomba can get out to like the F9 area, he's got the sides of these ships. If they want to go bow into him, I get the sides of those ships. So I figure it can be a mutually beneficial tactic. I'm still pretty much bow in, but not a lot has been shooting me so far. And one of the things I do like about the Richelieu is I've found the armor reliable. Is it the greatest armor at the tier? No. I'd still give that to the North Carolina. The North Carolina bow in and angled is just a very tanky ship, but the Richelieu, played right, you know, she is strong. She is a battleship. I would give her that. Whereas like the Dunkirk at 6, I call a battle cruiser. Like it, and a lot of these do have traits from more than one class because nations were experimenting and Wargaming's just kind of crammed them all down into 4 categories. Now I'm up to 3 fires, 40,000 damage here. I do have one going, a slow tick, which is always nice. See the Colorado going to the middle of the map, and I'm just slowly creeping forward. It was about here I was thinking, okay Goomba, if you can get out wide, that would be amazing. And, well, torpedo bombers passing by, secondaries getting, well, one of them, and there's the Colorado, bring the guns over. I'm just waiting. Second they're loaded, shells are going to be in the air, and AP would have done decently here at this kind of range. Get 5,000 damage, and a torpedo finishes them off. So there's another ship down. We're losing this game right now. So we've got to kind of figure out how to fix that. And I've got an Edinburgh, a New Orleans, a North Carolina, and a Tirpitz who's grounded. And this is one of those moments I wish I had a spotting plane. Just being able to see things clearly over the island, but you know, I kind of peek a little higher, adjust and fire, and then seeing this Edinburgh and New Orleans, I am eventually going to switch to AP when I go to engage them. There's kind of an interesting thing that can happen. If you've got cruisers around you sailing broadside on, if you just ignore them for a bit, they'll keep sailing broadside on. So, you know, as long as I'm not starting to fire at them with HE, I'm not really wasting my chance. Now, yes, they could learn their lesson and switch, and you can see I was gonna avoid the New Orleans, and I go to aim at him, he goes dark, so okay, it's time for the Amagi, who also goes dark. And if everyone's going dark, it means I need to push up a bit. And I've got Savea and Goomba still here with me, Savea getting the smoke down to start doing damage. And, well, that North Carolina is still kind of just reversing slowly. A good hit there, 5,300. More than happy with that out of HE. Here comes some bombers, and you can see I've kicked it back into reverse, using that speed boost, just try to get myself moving. Don't really want to charge forward here. There's a Harakaze off in B. I could be sailing straight into torpedoes. I eat the bombs, aim back at the North Carolina, and at 11 kilometers, this New Orleans can no longer kind of be ignored. Not so great there. The North Carolina clearly switching to forward, but that's no longer going to be target. The repair party comes off cooldown. I really should be popping it now. I've got a fire going, like start recovering the health early. And ships are firing at me. Unfortunately, the New Orleans ate a big hit from Goomba, and that means he turned out. But in some greed to get his guns back on, he starts swinging around, and this is really why you want to use the AP. Oh, oops. Wrong shot. I do eventually delete a cruiser. I promise it happens. That clearly just wasn't it. The shell's a little far forward, kind of sliding down the bow, it looks like. And the New Orleans has retreated, an Edinburgh charging in, and, well, I look at the last second, kind of intentionally not targeting him in case he runs priority target. Don't want him getting early warning that I'm staring straight at him. And there we go. That's why you use AP. 3 Citadels, absolutely erasing a tier 8 cruiser, and a deadly one at that. Savea's in his, and Savea looks like he might be eating some battleship shells of his own, getting away there, and things still aren't great, but they could be worse. There's the New Orleans. I take a little more time to aim this time. It's going a little slower, so I don't lead by as much. kind of hoping for the kill here. Just keep looking around. And there we go. Now I delete the New Orleans. And these AP shells, like I said, they're useful. And that's why I was hesitant to use this game, because I do spend so much time at the start firing just HE sitting bow in, which admittedly is a kind of bad tactic that a lot of people seem to do, and it can get you focused down. I guess why this has been working for me, I've gotten lots of allies who've been focused down instead. Goomba taking the brunt of it, and this is about where I asked him to start kind of pushing out, and he tried. I think we just had our lines all crossed up because you can see me pinging the map. That's kind of where I thought he could go, like one of those spots, but he felt he couldn't. Charged in, did the damage he could, and things are more or less even. We're down caps, but hey, we're not that far behind. And with this North Carolina charging in, Savea uses his smoke. I should be able to keep him lit mostly. There's also planes in the air with torps going in. Savea just starting the shelling, and I can remember in chat here, he's like, oh no, don't get any closer. Because you fire from smoke, the thing can see you. But another threat gone, and that actually gives us the lead really for the first time. The enemies, they've still got 2 caps, and they have a Harakaze who is about to end our carrier. And that doesn't bode very well for us. Got AP loaded there, so I use it long range at the turrets, and I've got to push this Amagi. So I ask Savea, focus this guy down, like I'm pushing him. We need to get a target right here, right now, because if this Amagi gets away, that could be our chance to really end this game. Now we do have New Orleans, it's got radar, so it should be able to deal with that Harakaze. But with 2 battleships and a carrier, we need a kind of big damage threat off the map. I'm up to 130,000 damage so far, which I'm quite pleased with, and there we go, that's a hit I needed. 5,300, 2 fires, and instantly the Amagi reps it. And this is where you kind of wish those British ships had HE, because Savea could definitely relight a fire quickly and start melting down some of this health. But those AP shells do that just fine themselves, not really requiring the assistance of a fire. And at this point, it's full chase mode. I've got that engine boost going, doing over 36 knots in a battleship. Feels good. That's another place I've had a lot of fun in this ship, is if you can get a cruiser who, you know, is in a bad position, you can charge them down. They can't get away from you. There's very few cruisers that can when you've got that boost going. And at minimum, you keep them in your range longer. So it's kind of a helpful tool to have. Now with the Amagi angled like that, I'm going to just keep spamming HE. There's a fire, 2600 damage as well, and you can see the hit points slowly coming off. Savea just sailing up the flank. And it's kind of this point that maybe I could start slowing down. 10 kilometers on that turrets. But I'm not feeling the need. I'm not feeling pressure yet. Maybe I should be. Turrets does have torpedoes after all. But this Amagi's going to be dead. Hopefully. And that'll open me up. My aim there pretty bad. Throwing them all over her bow. Giving that bridge crew a nice show. And, well, this is where you're thankful for having allies. You know, they're able to continue work. This torpedo bomber squadron really is going to prove troublesome for me, and I've got to turn for them. I have to respect that. The Amagi's waiting for it, and look how much health the Amagi erases off me there. I dodge all the torpedoes because this is a maneuverable ship, and I think also just the speed means I get overled just a little. With the Amagi gone, it's now the turrets in the Enterprise, or sorry, Lexington. I'm not really feeling this Lexington being alive, but the turrets also has to be respected, and it's kind of a back and forth. I've got HE loaded. You know, if I get a fire here, maybe I can stop planes from getting launched or recovered for a bit. So I spread my fire out, hoping to just kind of hit different parts of the ship. No fire, sadly. Not a ton of damage. Things aren't looking good, but bow on. I take some damage, but no big hits from that Tirpitz, and that's really the Richelieu. If you've got that bow armor angled, you're not going to take a ton, though I do need to start thinking about not sailing in a straight line. And the Tirpitz may be 7.4 kilometers away, but the torpedoes are capable of reaching me because I'm sailing forward, and I sailed right into it. I turned into it, in fact, because I got the rudder over just as they got spotted. A little unfortunate. I do get my damage control back though in 16 seconds, so this is going to be close whether or not I live. I'm up to 163,000 damage. We're on top now. We've got 2 caps. The New Orleans is chasing down the Harakaze. We've kind of chased these ships out the north of the map. Things should be good. Unfortunately, 9 seconds left, only 130 hit points. I'm probably a goner. I am quite happy with the result in that one. 535,000 credits, huge experience numbers, and the reason I'm doing that is the Richelieu is the tech tree French ship. Like, when the tree comes out, I'm going to be at tier 8, I'm going to have XP, be that much closer to tier 9. And there's a bit of a misconception. I have a friend or two who seem to think that these are premium vessels or limited edition vessels you can only get from the crates, but they're going to be the tech tree. This is their way of giving us a preview of the lineup that's coming. And I'm guessing they just haven't finished balancing a couple of the ships, but decided these ones were ready. And end of the day, 169,000 damage and a handful of kills. Top the team, just over 2,400 experience, and you can see my div mates not too far behind me in this one. Which, always a good feeling. Control the game as a team and win it, which it's nice when it works out. The damage I did do, you can see the big ones, that Edinburgh, the New Orleans, basically just erasing them with a volley. I mean, the New Orleans not so much, 12,000 hit points, but that Edinburgh, those sits, they count, and you've got to use AP. The same is true on British battleships. Use the right ammo for the right target. And at the end of it, took home just under 400,000 credits. Good chunk of XP, getting a captain trained up. Really happy with this ship so far. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope it gives you a peek into the French line. Maybe you're interested, maybe you're not. But either way, it's going to change how battleships play a little bit just because of the speed they bring. If you enjoyed this, please consider giving a thumbs up or subscribing. And as always, I'm Qckslvrslash. I'll have another one for you all later.